FIFA the political flexibility that they need to be able to host. YouTube, give me a 1 minute. I will set you guys up. We'll start the live stream momentarily. All right. Give me a second. And in the meantime, YouTube, TikTok, go ahead and join me on the YouTube live stream as well. Okay. Go ahead and join me there, or you can go ahead and just stay right here on TikTok as well. All right. Okay, just editing a few other items here, YouTube. Give me 2 more seconds as we set you up live, and then we will go from there. But yeah, a lot of the content I'm going to be talking about today, folks, is going to be very noticeable here on the YouTube live stream. So again, TikTok, if you want to join me on YouTube, you can go ahead and do so. All right, YouTube, thank you for joining me today. So again, to level set here, okay, to level set the conversation that we're going to have today here, okay? So, of course, just to kind of quickly catch you up on what's been going on with the U.S. and Iran, unfortunately, that has been a very geopolitical situation that's been going on with these two countries for decades, yada yada. In regards to the 2026 World Cup, right, to do the TLDR, the U.S. About a couple weeks ago did publish a travel ban, and on top of that, on that list was Iran. So the Islamic Republic of Iran was placed on this travel ban, and what a lot of people have been pointing out is that they made a little exception there, a vague one, mind you, that said that athletes and coaches will be allowed to participate, be able to travel to the U.S. if they're participating in a major sports event. They didn't specifically identify the sports events. I think they did say World Cup and Olympics, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to recall the executive order. But that's it, right? Okay. Fast forward to this past weekend, the U.S. military and orders of the president did conduct a military operation which did violate Iran's air sovereignty. And, pretty much we went to war against these people without actually going, formally declaring war via Congress. Okay, TLDR on that one too. So now I've been seeing lots of videos popping up about like, oh my God, where's Iran going to play? Oh, is there an easy solution? Are they going to get banned? Could they just play in Canada? Could they just play in Mexico? And I think I really wanted to come on live today to really discuss that situation, because I think a lot of folks are not realizing that this Iran situation, which I did talk about in a previous video on my socials, but never here on YouTube in full, I did talk about how Iran could only be in one group and in one specific slot of that group because of the way that the World Cup has been set up in terms of its schedule, in terms of the groups, in terms of where they're going to be playing. Okay? So again, if you're not joining me on YouTube, I highly encourage you to join me on YouTube right now, for those of you that are watching me through TikTok. What you're seeing here in front of you, okay, is the breakdown of each group based on where the games are going to be played in what city. Okay? And so what you see is that there is no only Canada group. There is no only Mexico group. There's like a 90% Mexico group, but not only Mexico group. And there's only one group that is completely in the United States. I'm going to repeat that again, okay? As we talk about this conversation of where the Islamic Republic of Iran is going to play, there is no only Canada group. There is no only Mexico group. There's like 90% is in Mexico. And there's only one group that is fully in the United States. That means that FIFA has created the following calendar, right? The following breakdown of the cities by group, by game, that has created these these pods, right? We have been talking about these pods for a while, but they created these pods where the overwhelming majority of these groups are basically straddling two countries. They're either USA Canada groups or USA Mexico groups. Again, there's only one group that is fully inside one country, and that is Group C, which is in the United States. So we're going to break down each of these groups, all right? And what you're going to see is this situation with Iran has gotten much, much, much more complicated, Because not only do you have the travel ban on top of it, okay, now you have this geopolitical situation which could threaten this schedule. The current schedule that we have might not work for 2026, folks. It might not work because what's the point? What's the point of having this schedule, right? If again, the teams, you're going to be having a geopolitical situation where you can't put a certain team in a certain country because of what's going on right now. So then what? Do we just kick that country out even though they qualified for the World Cup? We're talking about just the fact that the Islamic Republic of Iran qualified for the World Cup. They're in. This is not a speculative talk. And again, hey you, that's exactly what I'm going to let you know right now. That is not the case. There's no way to have the games in Canada. That's what we're going to talk about today, okay? There is no way for Iran to have all of its games in Canada. And there's only one way that it could have all of its games in Mexico. But only one way. Okay? Only one way. All right? So this is what we're going to talk about. So as you can see here on the screen, okay, there are no groups that are only in Canada. None. There's no series of games that would allow that team to stay in Canada. So, for example, Group B, right? Because you would have thought, oh, look at Group B, right? There's Toronto, there's Vancouver, there's Vancouver. Well, those three games are the Canada home games, okay? So, obviously, Toronto will not be able to play in all of those three games, okay? So, that's not possible. Group A, there's no games in Canada, so we're gonna eliminate the Canada conversation from this equation right now, okay? And we'll get to the knockout games in a second there too, hey you as well, because this is what's gonna complicate it, okay? This is exactly what is going to complicate this situation, okay? So Group B, it has 3 games in Canada, but they're all Team Canada, so Iran cannot play those 3 games. Group C is entirely in the United States, so let's just assume that they're not going to be placed there. Group D, there's only 1 game in Canada, that's in Vancouver. Group E, there's only 1 game in Canada, that's Toronto. And again, so they wouldn't be placed in this group because the rest of the games are in the United States. So assuming that the Iranian team will not be allowed into the U.S., they cannot play in Group E. Group G, there is a game in Vancouver. There's 2 games in Vancouver. Well, I misspelled Vancouver here. There's 2 games in Vancouver. So you could have maybe have put Iran in that group, but then again, Group G, first match is either Seattle or Los Angeles, so that's not possible. Group H, only 1 game in Guadalajara, no game in Canada. Group I, there's the Toronto game on match day 3, but that's it. Group J, nothing in Canada. Group J is also only in the U.S. Group K, no game in Canada. And Group L, there's 2 games in Toronto, but then match day 3 is either Philadelphia or New York City. So, dale, Jose. Thank you. So, as you can see by this breakdown of where these games are happening per city, per group, there is we could just put Iran in Canada. That doesn't exist, folks. That doesn't exist. Okay, for those of you on TikTok, go watch me on YouTube. Okay, because I'm sharing all the games as they're gonna happen per group. As you can see, there is no way we can put Iran in Canada and just call it done deal. There's no way it could happen. And FIFA has, in some ways, FIFA is acting really naive to the point of really annoying naive. Like, FIFA, you're not realizing that the U.S. could be creating geopolitical situations that will necessitate for you to give yourself some flexibility on scheduling. I don't know, fam. But, as you can see here, there is no only Canada group. So we cannot just put Iran in Canada. Dale, thank you. All right, now let's take a look at Mexico, right? Okay, so let's just put Iran in Mexico then. The only group that could work is Group A, but they have to be put in the third position. Thank you guys. Thank you joining from TikTok over to YouTube. Thank you. All right. They can only be put in Group A. Group A, position 3. Because that would allow them to play in Guadalajara. No, excuse me. They would have to actually play against Mexico. So they would be in the opening match. Actually, funny enough. If I'm not, well, no, they don't have to be opening match. They could either be either of these two cities. They will play Mexico in Guadalajara here. Excuse me, yeah. So they will be in Guadalajara. They'll stay in Guadalajara. And then they can go to either Monterrey or Ciudad de Mexico. That is the only way. Guadalajara to Atlanta is crazy, not going to lie. I agree. But no, but that's match day 2. So that means one of these teams could be going from Guadalajara to Atlanta, and the other one would have to go and stay in Guadalajara. So for Iran, they would have to be placed in Guadalajara, and then Ciudad de Mexico, Monterrey, doesn't matter. Because usually it's A1. I think this could be against A2. But they could also be placed as Ciudad de Mexico. No, and actually, no, they can't play this game. They have to play one or the other. So Iran would play in this game, right? Because Iran cannot play Mexico twice, of course. So Iran would be placed in the second game of the World Cup, A3, in Guadalajara. They will stay in Guadalajara, and then they can go either way, Ciudad de Mexico and Monterrey. Okay? So Iran could be placed in Group A, but it would have to be no draw. There's no surprise about it. It would be like, yeah, Iran's in A3, and that's it. So we're already compromising the integrity of the draw itself, because Iran is at war with the United States is at war with Iran, I should say, and the U.S. has put a travel ban. Guadalajara times 2, then Monterrey, basically. Yes, that's right, because they cannot go back to Mexico City, because they would have to replay Mexico. That cannot happen. So correct. It would have to be Guadalajara, Monterrey. That would be Iran's path in the group stage. Okay, let's take a look at the rest of the groups before we look to the knockout round. Okay, now, rest of the groups. As we said, there's no other only Mexico group. Okay, we see Group C, Group J are only in the U.S. Group B, no games in Mexico. Okay, Group E, no games in Mexico. Group F, there's a Monterrey, but then Dallas, KC. So that's not possible, right? Group F would not be possible because, they could have stayed in Monterrey, but then, Dallas, KC, right there. So that's not possible. Okay? They have to go at Monterrey the third time. They can't go to CDMX, correct, the third time, because they would be replaying Mexico. That is correct. They would, basically, in effect, Iran-Mexico would be match day number 2 in Guadalajara. That would be the second game. Guadalajara versus Mexico. Guadalajara. Iran versus Mexico. Match day 2, Guadalajara. That would basically be the second game. Okay? So keep going through here. This is Vancouver. Guadalajara, there's a game here for Mexico in Group H, but that's the only one in Group H. We have here none for Group I. Group K, you have a CDMX, Guadalajara here, but then Atlanta, Miami, match day 3. So that's not possible for Iran to be put in Group K. And then Group L, no games in Mexico. So, as I've shown here, there is no way for Iran to be placed in an only Toronto group. Okay? And the only group in Mexico that Iran would be able to play would be in Group A. But they would have to be placed as A3 because of that match day 2 game in Atlanta. So that means that Iran would be based in, to begin with, in Guadalajara. They would play Mexico match day 2 in Guadalajara. And then match day 3, they would go to Monterrey and play there. Now, Carlos, let's go to that next point. If Iran advances, FIFA will be cooked for various reasons. Okay? TikTok, join me on the YouTube live stream. We're gonna end the live right there on TikTok right now. All right, that's done. Thank you. All right. Now, let's take a look at what happens if Iran was to make it out of Group A. Because if they finished in first place in that group, they would stay in Ciudad de Mexico. They would basically take up that game that is basically being set up for Mexico, right, to be able to advance deep into the tournament. They would take up that game at Estadio Azteca. So Iran would take up that round of 32 match. If they finish second, they're going to Los Angeles. So agreed, Carlos. If Iran makes it second place, FIFA is screwed. Because then that is already the point of no return. Iran has to go to the United States. Trump would have to allow the Iranian national team in. He can try to ban all the fans. He can do all that. But he will have to allow Iran to go into the United States to play that round of 32 match. Potentially against Canada, funny enough. It's weird, but they could play Canada. Or whoever finishes second in Group B, I believe it is. Yes, whoever finishes second in Group B. So Iran, in order for them not to come to the United States, would have to finish first in Group A, play the round of 32 game in Ciudad de Mexico, in Azteca, basically taking away that game from Mexico. Well, I mean, they would have earned it, right? And then, if they win that game, they stay at Azteca again. Right? Because if they win that game, they go round of 16 at Azteca de nuevo. And then only then, if they make the deepest of deepest runs, quarterfinal in Miami. Semifinal Atlanta. Right? So, presumably no chance of FIFA changing the schedule to avoid this tomfoolery or not. Do you know when the final draw will be hosted and where will be hosted? Okay, all valid questions. What's up? What's up, Maynor? Okay, so FIFA has time to change the schedule. The draw will not be until the first week of December. Probably Las Vegas. It might still be in DC, but it looks like it's more than likely it's going to be Vegas. So FIFA technically has time to change this. Okay? Technically. Miami should not be a host. Well, it is. It is. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So, again, folks, if Iran finishes second in Group A, we've already done the conversation, right? And if you're joining us late, I highly suggest you watch back the replay because you're going to understand what we're talking about here. If Iran finishes second in Group A, because that is the only potential group that they can be placed in if the U.S. is insistent on this travel ban, and now that the U.S. has basically waged war on Iran, we're in the biggest shit show ever for a World Cup, politically speaking, and it's all because Trump decided to drop these damn bombs when we had no business dropping them bombs. At least not through he had no congressional authorization. Okay? Besides that, FIFA is now in a very tough position. And again, because they did not give themselves the flexibility to create an only Mexico group, as I suggested. And granted, it was going to be very difficult to create an only Canada group because you only have two cities in Canada, Toronto and Vancouver, all the way across from each other. So that wasn't going to be possible. But an only Mexico group, you could have created two of these groups only in Mexico. And given themselves that flexibility in case shit like this was going to happen. FIFA needs a strong administration to allowing Iran into the country. Can't compromise the tournament draw. But that's the thing. Is Infantino now going to go to bat for Iran? Is Infantino going to risk that all that mushiness that he has given Trump, the way that relationship has been evolving, is he now going to risk that relationship for Iran? Again, they were qualified. They're one of the first. They were like the first country qualified for this tournament, right? It was either them or Japan, right? Or I think it was even before Argentina. Like, they're the first ones. And they're going to be kicked out because Trump bombed their country. There are probably going to be more countries that will be banned. What's going to happen with those teams? Perfect question to ask, Eduardo. We don't know. We don't know because, again, unless you basically, recreate this entire schedule, right? And you create 2 to 3 groups in Mexico, that doesn't matter. The point is that then what about the knockout stage, right? And again, this is just the pathway to glory for Mexico, Canada, USA. Remember, there's going to be 8 third-place teams moving on to the next round. All of the knockout games are almost going to be in the United States. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where at the end of the day you place these teams because what ends up happening is eventually they're going to end up being in the United States. Right? I mean, like, that's just the reality of it. Let's try to zoom in out here a little bit. Okay? So that way you see what we're talking about. Round of 32. I mean, eventually, the last knockout game in Vancouver is round of 16. Right? And I hope you're seeing this on your screen. Okay? The last knockout game in Toronto and Vancouver is round of 16. The last knockout game in Mexico is going to be the Mexico City one over here. And Monterrey has 1 knockout. Guadalajara has no knockout games. Mexico City has 2. Last one for Vancouver is over here in the round of 16. And for Toronto, they only have a round of 32 knockout. The rest from the quarterfinals onward is United States. So what are we going to do if one of these countries has a magical run from the travel ban list, right? Again, Iran is on the top of that list, right? Iran is on the top of that list. But as we saw over this past weekend as well, the U.S. State Department banned the Senegalese women's basketball team from traveling to the United States. No reasoning was given behind that. So what if they just decide to blanket ban other countries? What are we going to do then? What are we going to do then? We have no credible solution to it. We have no solution to this. So that's the problem, folks, with this Iran conversation, right? And again, I've been seeing a lot of videos on the socials. A lot of people saying, "Oh, we could just put them in Canada. Oh, we could just put them in Mexico." That is not. It's not. That's a lazy analysis, because there is no only Canada group. There is an only Mexico group, barely, and you're basically hoping that Iran is trash, that they don't win. You basically are hoping that Iran finishes 4th place, because if they finish as one of the third place teams, they are going to go to the United States to play that round of 32 knockout match. More than likely, it would be a miracle if the math calculates out for them and they make it to Canada, right? To one of those round of 32 knockout matches, right? Again, if we pop up the schedule here, the math would have to be so precise for Iran to be a 3rd place team and for them to end up in either this game over here, M63, or back in Monterrey, M75, or M65, or back again in Mexico City even. No, that's not going to be possible. They can't make this game. So they'll either be back M75, M65 Vancouver, M75 Monterrey, or M63 Toronto. Like, the math would have to math in such an incredible way so that Iran could then go as a 3rd place team to one of those 3 specific games to stay outside the United States. They get knocked out, and Trump could basically breathe a huge sigh of relief that he does not have to deal with that geopolitical situation. But so would Infantino, so basically everybody. So, folks, when we're talking about this situation with Iran, or we're talking about the situation with the other teams that might be getting banned, that are currently banned by the travel ban, or that are partially banned by the travel ban, we are creating a situation here that is going to put in jeopardy the sporting integrity of this tournament. We're putting in jeopardy the ability of the fans to travel between the countries, to be able to, you know, oh man, like just to be able to do something, right? To be able to like to act, to just to play out this tournament the way it should be played out, right? But there is no way to be able to do this because, maldita sea, like, there's just no way to do this, fam. There's no way to just try to push this problem under the rug. None. Questions, folks. Questions, commentary, feedback. This is crazy, man. I hope that this analysis and this walkthrough has been helpful because, again, I've been seeing a lot of bad analysis being given on socials to just put Iran in Canada, just put Iran in Mexico, and it's not as straightforward. It is not as simple as that, folks. It is not that straightforward. It's not. So that's where we're at. And again, this could be this is definitely for Iran because naturally what's going on right now. But if they expand this travel ban list to these other 32, 36 countries that they're thinking of, papa, like we're already, they'll work it out. I mean, again, I don't have that faith that this administration is going to be that flexible with this situation. Of course, and again, this is all speculative, right? Maybe they do work it out and everything works out, but I think, what do you mean by work out? Because if they just say, you know what, we're just going to put Iran A3, you're already compromising the draw. You're already telling Guadalajara, and Monterrey, you're going to get Iran, which might not be the biggest attraction, right? Might not be, right? To be fair. And then what? Like it might not be the right attraction. I mean, look, man. The point is, it's just that it's going to get messy, to say the least. I'm looking forward to Toronto. I bet he will add even more countries to ban list, so even after the current additions. Yeah. So how are we going to do this? Because if he does add these 32, 36 countries, I forget the exact number that was on that list. If he does that, he will in effect have banned more countries, right? He's going to ban more countries than the number of teams participating in this World Cup. I think the total number would go up to 59 countries banned, whereas there's 48 countries competing in the 2026 World Cup. FIFA got to use all their pull to save the integrity of their golden child. I mean, you would think so, because we haven't really been in this situation before, where countries are banning other countries for tourism, for entry purposes. I can't recall a previous tournament that's been in that situation. As I noted on Instagram on Saturday night, Russia was allowed to keep the World Cup because at that point, they had already been occupying Crimea for 4 years. Europe had already accepted the geopolitical situation on the ground. So there really wasn't like we're going to punish Russia by removing the World Cup. There really wasn't that type of movement there, right? Even though they had their issues, right, with their World Cup. This one just has a different situation to it. In part because now, on top of the fact that the U.S. has added these travel bans, the fact that the U.S. is targeting its own people internally in this country with the use of ICE and mass deporting a bunch of people, creating very uncomfortable and dangerous situations to foreign tourists from other countries as they're trying to come in. And then now entering a conflict of this scale, it's different. You haven't really had a host nation be so politically unstable in a real long time. I mean, let's go back at the last 20 years of World Cups. Qatar was stable, Russia was stable, relatively speaking. Brazil was stable politically, relatively speaking. South Africa was relatively stable. Germany was stable. South Korea, Japan was stable. France was stable. Back in the USA 94, USA was much more stable than Italy 1990, which remember replaced Colombia. In part, the main reason was financial reasons, but Colombia was dealing with a internal drug trafficking problem. So that could have been, maybe the closest example. But again, Colombia wasn't being belligerent towards other nations. 86 was Mexico. 82 was Spain, right? 82 was Spain? I believe 82 was Spain. 78, Argentina, which I have compared the U.S.'s actions with that of Argentina in 1978, just because of the internal dirty war that it committed. And then 74 was West Germany, 70 Mexico. You see what I mean? Like, there hasn't really been a country that has been actively trying to piss off everybody else. Oh, man, damn, I remembered all those World Cups. I probably could go back, right? England, 66, 62, Chile, 58. Was 58 Brazil? No, 58 was Sweden, right? 54 was where? Was that Uruguay, 50 Brazil? Man, I'm trying to remember all the World Cups. Golly! Yo, help me out, chat! What was 54? Because 50 was Brazil, right? Maracanazo, right? Who hosted 54? Was that Uruguay? Because there wasn't any during World War II. Because we know it was Uruguay, Italy, back to Uruguay, right? 30, 34, 38. There was no 42, no 46. 50 was Brazil. Who was 54? Help me out here, chat. Someone look it up in the chat, all right? I named every single World Cup. Holy shit. Oh, my God. But, yeah, I don't think there's been a situation where a FIFA host country has actively gone out of their way to piss off the tourists to a point where the tourists are going to say, you know what, this tournament, we're not going to your country. And now it has, become embroiled in a conflict in the Middle East as well. It's like, Jesus Christ, man, the PR nightmare that you're having right now. Chat, let me know who hosted 1954. Switzerland? Switzerland hosted 1954? Really? Who won the 1954 World Cup? Really? Was Switzerland? Who won the 54 World Cup? Wow, I'm actually very surprised. Wow. Wow, I didn't think it was Switzerland that hosted the World Cup. Incredible. All right, cool. Questions, comments. How would you reorganize this? West Germany. Okay, so West Germany won. Okay. That would make sense. That West Germany would have won 54. That's right. That was when Hungary had a good team too, right? Puskas and them boys, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. But yeah, folks, questions, comments. What do you think of this breakdown, of this analysis? I mean, if we were talking about this in the context of Iran or any of these countries that might get potentially banned, yeah, it's not good news at all, right? It's not looking good at all, because this is bad. This is absolutely bad, to say the least. Okay. Happy to answer other World Cup questions. Happy to answer anything else at this time. Or else I can go ahead and end the live stream a little bit early as well, because I mean this is really what I wanted to show folks, is that this is not as straightforward as people think it is. There is no only Canada group. There's only one almost all Mexico group. It is not this straightforward, man. It is not this straightforward as people are putting it to be. And FIFA, in part, is in many ways at fault for not giving themselves the political flexibility to be able to move games around, to be able to tell the United States, hey, man, if you don't cut this shit out, we're going to remove games from you. Which, I would say, again, I don't think the U.S. is going to lose the World Cup. No, I don't think that's going to happen. There's too much money already in play, right? What I will say is that FIFA could threaten to move a couple of games away from the United States and give it to Mexico. Maybe give one or two to Canada and give the rest to Mexico. I could see that. I could see them take a group stage game away from Kansas City, right? I'm sorry to pick on Kansas City. They could remove a couple of group stage games away from the U.S. and say, you know what? We're going to put a couple more of the group games here. Or maybe even a couple of the knockout games. Because, again, if the problem is, right, you need to create like two only Mexico groups. So you can't really create an only Canada group. You can't. Okay? Because of the geographic distance. You're going from Toronto to Vancouver. That's 3 time zones. It's not going to happen. But you could create, Group A could be an only Mexico group, right? Because it's already set up to be an only Mexico group, right? Group A could be an only Mexico potential. You could make maybe this Group K and only Mexico, and then maybe a F, right? You could create 3 only Mexico groups, send out all the people that have been banned on the travel list over there, which again, it's tough to talk about it this way, but I'm trying to come up with some solutions here. You could do that, but then you need knockout games in Mexico or in Canada in order to facilitate some of these teams if they make it into that next round as a third place team. Okay, it's not just first or second, but a third place team, right? Allow them to get knocked out, and then hope and cross your lucky fingers that none of these travel banned countries make the quarterfinals or around the 16, then quarterfinals. You see, it's just, man. Es que no lo veo. Papi, es que no lo veo. I don't see how they're going to, they're going to have to allow these countries in, or FIFA's in for a world of hurt. They're going to realize that Trump ain't no one to be friends with immediately. You know what I mean? It's going to be bad, man. It's bad because it's not clear. Once the final draw is complete, you know who they'll face. Would you please, if you're able, advise fans on the right ticket choices to follow their teams? Yeah, I'll do that. I mean, I'll cover the World Cup draw live. At least that's the plan right now. I'll cover the live. I'll cover the live. No problem. I'll cover the live. I'll cover the draw live. Unless something else pops up, I'll do that. But yeah, man. My advice right now, if you're preparing for the draw, right, is to what is it? My best advice is, if the draw happens on a Saturday, folks, make plans to not go to church on Sunday. Don't make plans to go to church on Sunday. Don't. You're not going to church on Sunday. You need to plan for the World Cup. All right? If the draw happens on a Sunday, boss, I'm not coming into work on Monday. Because you need to take the next 24 to 48 hours after the draw to book all your travel immediately. Because I really do think that the travel piece of all this is going to just shoot up in price in the weeks following the draw. Because people are going to know where their team is playing, when exactly, where exactly. So the travel costs are just going to skyrocket. The hotels will probably be booked by that point. So you need to take the next 24 to 48 hours after the draw to book your travel. That means you got to have all your money ready. And I know it's going to be right before Christmas, right before the holidays. Maybe that's what you get for Christmas. A World Cup. A World Cup experience. But yeah, you got to have all that booked, because if you're not ready to go 24, 48 hours after the draw, man, you're going to be booking that stuff last minute. Good luck. Because the demand is going to be there. I'm still kind of 50-50 on how much the travel ban will deter fans coming in. Obviously, it will ban many of them. But if you look at the list of countries, the number of people that would come from those countries to a World Cup is small compared to others. But if there's boycott movements, if there's protests against this administration, if there's all these things, then maybe the demand from abroad goes down, but you might still have demand internally still be high to go to these games, to book all the flights, the hotel rooms, etc., etc. So that's why my advice there would be, 24 to 48 hours after the draw, book all your travel. All right? Book all your travel. Get that out of the way. So, yeah. All right, what other questions, folks? I'm happy to answer some questions now. If not, I'm happy to end the live as well. That's pretty much really all the analysis I had regarding Iran. how we're gonna put them in the World Cup and everything. But really, it's not just Iran. It's any country that is placed on the ban list. How are we gonna be handling their potential entry and participation in the United States? There really is no way. Happy to answer other questions. Off topic. I just came back from Miami for a Real Madrid game. It took me 2 hours to get to the stadium, 18 miles away. They need to fit something for reals. Yesterday I went to the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, no problem. Papi, I've been telling you about Miami this entire time. Miami has no public transit to take fans from the downtown or the beach area to the stadium. Everyone depends on a car over there. All right? And there's only so many roads in and out of Hard Rock Stadium. So that's why you need to go 2 hours, if not 3 hours before to get to the stadium. I don't know what they're going to do with the parking situation for 2026. But there is no metro. There's only two bus lines that cross on the southwest corner of Hard Rock Stadium. That's it. So I'm not surprised that you dealt with all that traffic there, Maynard. Because growing up in Miami, they have been saying for years to build a metro out there, pero no se las da la hijo madre gana de hacerlo. They have not been wanting to do it this entire time. So I'm not surprised. The cops don't do anything. Tampoco? What are you going to expect them to do? They don't do shit. Oh, man. Look, I will say this to the cops. All right, I will say this to the cops. It's hot as hell all the time, man. Like, even I got to sympathize with that, man. It's hot as hell, It's hot as hell. And there's no way to direct the traffic out in a good way that would make it fast. Because it's all residential areas around Hard Rock Stadium. So it's not like people can drive off 60 miles per hour and get the hell out of Dodge quick. They got to go through 25, 30, 35 mile per hour residential areas, which only grinds the traffic even more so. So, again, I'm glad you were able to get out in time, but they were playing with their phones. Hey, listen, I'm not here to talk about the police. I don't want to get arrested. But at the same time, sure. My point is this. My point is this, okay? You need to give yourself time. You need to give yourself time to get in and out. To get in and out of Hard Rock Stadium. I could just feel the chaos brewing, bro. I'm not trying to create anxiety or fear monger. I genuinely, I'm not trying to do that. I'm genuinely not. But I think there is something to be said about being prepared, and maybe that's just my personality. Maybe just because of the line of work that I've worked on. Maybe because of the area where I live in Washington D.C. That maybe you're just hardwired to prepare for the worst, right? Anticipate the best, hope for the best, of course, but you're more inclined to prepare for the worst. And maybe that's just where I'm coming from in terms of my perspective. I anticipate the problems, so in that way I know how to mitigate the problems. I know how to get around the problems. If the problems don't come across, great. They didn't come, right? But, man, I just don't know, man. Also, can't wait for the rest of the teams to qualify. Hopefully my country does so too. I'm kind of scared because the matches we'll be playing in September and October are crucial. Yep. What's your country, by the way? Colombia's gonna make it. Like Conmebol, we already know the top 6. Like, Colombia will either beat Bolivia or match the result of Venezuela versus Argentina, because I don't expect Venezuela to beat Argentina. I don't expect it to happen. If they draw and Colombia wins, Colombia's in. If Colombia draws Bolivia at home and Venezuela draws, they're in. Like, it would take a monumental, epic fail by Colombia to not make it to the World Cup at this point. They're in. South Africa. Okay. Yeah, they're battling tough right now too, right? In the qualifiers. So Africa's having a lot of good coaches, a lot of fighting going on right there in the World Cup qualifiers there for AFCON as well. So yes, all of this will be determined in due time. And even country like yours, South Africa, right? Not the best diplomatic relationship with the United States either. I don't think they're going to get in the travel ban list. But y'all have ruffled feathers for Trump, which I'm all for. But, at some point, I wonder how much of that's going to blow back against them. Obviously, with the Mamelodi Sundowns here, with the Club World Cup, I haven't heard any South Africans express any complaints about if they were traveling from South Africa to here. They haven't expressed anything like that. So that's good, right? But we just have to keep going and tracking the political situation in the United States, the increased internal instability that is happening here, and how much of that is FIFA willing to digest. Because it is getting interesting, to say the least. And especially with what happened, in the last 12 hours, he said, oh yeah, we have a ceasefire. Both sides agreed, and then nobody agreed to the ceasefire. And now he's dropping F-bombs in front of the White House this morning. I'm telling y'all, folks, this does not give off everything is fine vibes. Actually, it gives off that meme, right? Everything is fine, but everything else is on fire. I think that's where we're at with the United States right now. Somehow, we're pulling off a successful Club World Cup, in part because of the South American fans, in part because of the African fans, the Arab fans, the Asian fans coming here and really making it a party. Somehow the Club World Cup is working, but only because of them. Not because of this administration, not because of what the United States is doing. So, we shall wait and see. Final questions. I'm gonna go and make myself some lunch right now. Final questions before we head off today. Again, purely speculative talk about Iran, right? We don't know what's gonna happen, but I hope that this live stream showed that there is no easy solution to this. We can't just place Iran in Canada. We cannot just place Iran in Mexico unless in a very specific spot. And then what if they qualify to the next round? Not only is it first place, not only is it second place, but it's a third place. What is going to happen then? Iran is more than capable of finishing third place in a group and be one of the 8 best third place teams to qualify for the next round. And there's only so many games in the round of 32 that are not in the United States. So they're going to end up somewhere in the United States. What are we going to do then? I hope this was helpful. Again, this is Travel Football Fan. Please make sure that you like the live stream. You comment on it. Let me know how if you found this live stream useful. Please make sure to subscribe. Please make sure to follow me across all other socials as well. Again, I do offer my consultations on my website. Remember that I am partners with Absolute Sport. If you're looking to book your travel package for next summer, you hate travel planning, you just want someone else to take care of it for you and get you tickets to the game for next summer, hit me up on the DMs. I'll send you the information about their travel packages for next summer for this event, and we'll go from there. Other than that, folks, you know where to find me on socials. Thank you so much for your time. Y sintonía. I'll see y'all in the next time. Dale, mi gente.